Vishnu Parashitara Sutashma Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Vishnu Vishnu Parashitara Sutashma Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Vishnu Vishnu Parashitara Sutashma Srila Bhakti Vigyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Vishnu Vishnu Parashitara Sutashma Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Vishnu Mahabhagavat Srila Gopishwaras Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nityal Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shard Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट विरक्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री मुनि देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाई की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जना शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय प्रियात्मने श्री श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदांत नारायणेति नामिने। नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनेति नामिने। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावन नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालय कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तरभक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरह कातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूत हृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवत सेवया भगवदुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वं नायमां चरणन्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीन अपराधलक्षय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, the attack by Caṇḍavega in the city of Purañjana, and the character of Kalakanya. Dandavat pranams, Raseshwari Mataji, Rup Manjari, Didi, Prajumna Prabhu, Indira Mataji, and Gargaraj ji. Dandavat pranams. So yesterday, day before yesterday, let's see. Okay, I'm not going through all this, but King Purañjana goes to the forest to hunt, and his queen becomes angry. So Purañjana goes for hunting on a chariot. There's an analogy of the jiva and the material body. Then Purañjana hunts in the forest. Giving up his wife, Purañjana goes to hunt and kills animals. And then there's a description of scriptural regulations on animal killing, followers and non-followers of the scriptures. Material people could not tolerate Purañjana's animal killing. After killing many animals, Purañjana became tired. Then Purañjana returns home, and he gets refreshed, takes rest, decorates himself, and searches out his wife. Purañjana asks the household women about where is his wife. Then the women show the queen lying on the ground, and Purañjana tries to appease her. Then Purañjana pacifies his wife. Punishment of master is mercy on the servant. Give up your anger and show your beautiful face. I will punish anyone who has offended you, except for a Brahmin and a Vaishnava. Please show your kindness to me. And then Purañjana enjoys with his queen, forgetting time. So this is what we read yesterday. After bewildering her husband and bringing him under her control, Purañjani gave him all satisfaction and enjoyed with him. The spiritual significance. Giving up the inclination for sinful life, the jiva becomes attached to dharmic intelligence as before. Right, this is the right chapter, right? 27? Yes, okay. The king welcomed his satisfied queen who approached him, having bathed and dressed nicely. Significance. Seeing the happiness of his dharmic intelligence and being freed from the contaminations in his mind, he felt successful. Purañjana's activity. Embraced by the queen and attracted by her private talks, King Purañjana became captivated by her and could not realize the passing of time. Significance. He lost his intelligence for crossing samskar. In this way, Purañjana always remained in the arms of his wife and could not understand the meaning of self-realization, neither as the jiva nor as the Lord. He couldn't understand, no self-realization of himself or the Lord. The significance. His wife here represents dharma. Associating with dharma, he became attached to dharma, and that became the goal of this life, rather than liberation. Youth passed. In this way, Purañjana, with a heart full of lust, began to enjoy sex with his wife, and his youth passed away in half a moment. Purañjana's family life. No. And his wife he begot 1,100 sons and 110 well-qualified daughters, who gave fame to their parents. In this business he passed half of his life. To increase the descendants of his paternal family, he got his sons married with qualified wives and his daughters married with qualified husbands. Each son produced hundreds and hundreds of sons. In this way, the whole city of Panchal became overcrowded by his descendants. Note, Panchal Desh refers to the field of activities where the jiva enjoys sense objects. Actions and reactions the jiva generates are represented by sons and grandsons. Okay. Purañjana's sons and grandsons were virtually plunderers of his home, treasury, servants, secretaries, etc. His attachment to them was deep-rooted. Implicated by desires. Okay,
I think this is where we read up to, right? Anyways, I'm just going to read these. King Purañjana became implicated in so many desires, just like you, Prācīnabarhi. He worshipped the demigods, forefathers, and social leaders with various animal sacrifices. Note, Narad now openly discloses to King Prācīnabarhi that the character of Purañjana is actually him. The meaning was hidden only to teach him by example. Being attached to fruitive activities and family, Purañjana eventually arrived at the point disliked by those overly attached to women. What is that? Death? I don't know. But we'll find out. And we're reading from verse 11 to 26 today. Ije chakratu birgorar. I'm on the right chapter, right? Just double checking. Yes. Okay. Dikshita Pashumarakai Devam Pitrin Bhutapate Nanakama Yata Bhavan. The great sage Narad continued. Oh, and just letting you know that outside they're plowing the field again. And so that's what the noise is outside. I closed my doors and windows and I put on noise suppression on my computer, but I don't know if it still is coming through. But what to do? Okay, so Narad continued. My dear King Prācīnabarhi, like you, King Purañjana also became implicated in so many desires. Thus he worshipped gods, forefathers, and social leaders with various sacrifices, which were all ghastly, inspired by the desire to kill animals. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the great sage Narad discloses that the character of Purañjana was being described to give lessons to King Prācīnabarhi. Actually, the entire description was figuratively describing the activities of King Prācīnabarhi. In this verse, Narad frankly says, like you, Yata Bhavan, which indicates that King Purañjana is none other than King Prācīnabarhi himself. Being a great Vaishnava, Narad Muni wanted to stop animal killing and sacrifices. He knew that if he tried to stop the king from performing sacrifices, the king would not hear him. Therefore, he is describing the life of Purañjana. But in this verse, he first discloses the intention, although not fully, by saying, like you. Generally, the karmis who are attached to increasing descendants have to perform so many sacrifices and worship so many demigods for future generations, as well as to satisfy so many leaders, politicians, philosophers, and scientists to make things go on properly for future generations. The so-called scientists are very eager to see that future generations will live very comfortably, and as such, they are trying to find different means of generating energy to drive locomotives, cars, airplanes, and so on. Now they are exhausting the petroleum supply. These activities are described in the Bhagavad Gita 241. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushaka hyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. Those who are on the spiritual path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Actually, those who are in knowledge of everything are determined to execute Krishna consciousness. But those who are rascals, mura, sinners, duskritina, and the lowest of mankind, naradhama, who are bereft of all intelligence, mayaya pahrita jnana, and who take shelter of the demoniac way of life, asuram bhavam ashrita, are disinterested in Krishna consciousness. As such, they become implicated to take on so many activities. Most of these activities center around the killing of animals. Modern civilization is centered around animal killing. Karmis are advertising that without eating meat, their vitamin value or vitality will be reduced. So to keep oneself fit to work hard, one must eat meat, and to digest meat, one must drink liquor. and to keep the balance of drinking wine and eating meat, one must have sufficient sexual intercourse to keep fit to work like an ass. Srila Prabhupada's really, so yeah. Anyways. There are two ways of animal killing. One way is in the name of religious sacrifices. All the religions of the world, except the Buddhists, have a program for killing animals and places of worship. According to Vedic civilization, the animal eaters are recommended to sacrifice a goat in the temple of Kali under certain restrictive rules and regulations and eat the flesh. They are recommended to drink wine by worshipping the goddess Chandika. The purpose is restriction. People have given up all this restriction. Now they are regularly opening up wine distilleries and slaughterhouses and indulging in drinking alcohol and eating flesh. A Vaishnavacharya like Narad Muni knows very well that persons engaged in such animal killing in the name of religion are certainly becoming involved in the cycle of birth and death, forgetting the real aim of life, to go back home, back to Godhead. Thus the sage Narad, while instructing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to Vyas Muni, condemned the karma kanda, fruit of activities, mentioned in the Vedas. Narad told Vyas, Jugupsitam dharma krite nushasata, subhava raktasya mahan vyatikrama yadvakyato dharma iti tarastito namanyate tasya nivaranam jana. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the nature of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.5.15. Srila Narad Muni chastised Vyasadeva for compiling so many Vedic supplementary scriptures, which are all intended for guiding people in general. The people in general. Sorry, God, I need to focus. Okay. Narad Muni condemned these scriptures because they do not mention direct devotional service. Under Narad's instructions, direct worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, was set forth by Vyasadeva. The conclusion is that neither the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu nor his devotee ever sanctions animal killing in the name of religion. Indeed, Krishna incarnated himself as Lord Buddha to put an end to animal killing in the name of religion. Animal sacrifice under the name of religion is conducted by the influence of tamagun, the mode of ignorance, as indicated in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verses 31 to 32. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyameva cha ayatavat prajanati buddhi sa partarajasi adharmam dharmamitiya manyate tamasar virta sarvatan viparitangscha buddhi sa partatamasi. That understanding which cannot distinguish between the religious way of life and the irreligious, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, that imperfect understanding, O son of Krita, is in the mode of passion. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. Those who are involved in the mode of ignorance manufacture religious systems for killing animals. Actually, Dharma is transcendental. As Lord Shri Krishna teaches, we must give up all other systems of religion and simply surrender unto Him. Sarva Dharmam Parityaja, 1866. Thus the Lord and His devotees and representatives teach the transcendental Dharma, which does not allow animal killing at all. At the present moment, it is the greatest misfortune that in India, many so-called missionary workers are spreading irreligion in the name of religion. They claim an ordinary human being to be God and recommend meat eating for everyone, including so-called sannyasis. Yukteshvenam pramattasya kutumbhasakta chetasa asa sada savaikalo yo priya priya yoshitam. Thus, King Purañjana, being attached to fruitive activities, karma kandiya, as well as kith and kin, and being obsessed with polluted consciousness, eventually arrived at that point not very much liked by those who are overly attached to material things. Purport. In this verse, the words priya yoshitam and apriya are very significant. The word yoshit means woman, and priya means dear or pleasing. Death is not very much welcome for those who are too much attached to material enjoyment, which culminates in sex. There is an instructive story in this connection. Once, when a saintly person was passing on his way, he met a prince, the son of a king, and he blessed him, saying, "My dear prince, may you live forever." The sage next met a saintly person and said to him, "You may either live or die." Eventually, the sage met a brahmachari devotee, and he blessed him, saying, "My dear devotee, you may die immediately." Finally, the sage met a hunter, and he blessed him, saying, "Neither live nor die." The point is that those who are very sensual and are engaged in sense gratification do not wish to die. Generally, a prince has enough money to enjoy his senses. Therefore, the great sage said that he should live forever, for as long as he lived, he could enjoy life. But after his death, he would go to hell. Since the brahmachari devotee was leading a life of severe austerities and penances in order to be promoted back to Godhead, the sage said that he should die immediately, so he need not continue to labor hard and could instead go back home back to Godhead. A saintly person either live or die, for during his life he is engaged in serving the Lord, and after his death he also serves the Lord. Thus, this life and the next are the same for the devotee, for in both he serves the Lord. Since the hunter lives a very ghastly life due to killing animals, and since he will go to hell when he dies, he is advised to neither live nor die. King Purañjana finally arrived at the point of old age. In old age, the senses lose their strength, and although an old man desires to enjoy his senses, and especially sex life, he is very miserable because his instruments of enjoyment no longer function. Such sensualists are never prepared for death. They simply want to live on and extend their life by so-called scientific advancement. Some foolish Russian scientists also claim that they are going to make man immortal. They're going to make him immortal through scientific advancement. Under the leadership of such crazy fellows, civilization is going on. Cruel death, however, comes and takes all of them away, despite their desire to live forever. This type of mentality was exhibited by Hiranyakashipu, but when the time was ripe, the Lord personally killed him within a second. Let me just check everything is working, right? Yes, it is. Caṇḍavega iti khyata Gandharvadipati nripa Gandharvastasya balina Shashtutara shatatrayam. O king, in Gandharva Loka there is a king named Caṇḍavega. Under him there are 360 very powerful Gandharva soldiers. Purport. Time is figuratively described here as Caṇḍavega. Since time and tide wait for no man, time is herein called Caṇḍavega, which means very swiftly passing away. As time passes, it is calculated in terms of years. 1 year contains 360 days, and the soldiers of Caṇḍavega herein mentioned represents these days. Time passes swiftly. Caṇḍavega's powerful soldiers of Gandharva Loka very swiftly carry away all of our life. As the sun rises and sets, it snatches away the balance of our lifespan. Thus, as each day passes, each one of us loses some of life's duration. It is therefore said that the duration of one's life cannot be saved. But if one is engaged in devotional service, his time cannot be taken away by the sun. As stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 2.3.17, Ayur harati vai pungsam udyam astam chayan asav. The conclusion is that if one wants to make himself immortal, he should give up sense gratification by engaging oneself in devotional service. He should give up sense gratification. I didn't see the period. By engaging oneself in devotional service, one can gradually enter into the eternal kingdom of God. Mirages and other illusory things are sometimes called Gandharvas. Our losing our lifespan is taken as advancement of age. This imperceptible passing away of the days of life is figuratively referred to in this verse as Gandharvas. As explained in later verses, such Gandharvas are both male and female. This indicates that both men and women lose their lifespan imperceptibly by the force of time, which is herein described as Caṇḍavega. Gandharvyasta drishirasya maithunyascha sita sita parivritya vilumpanti sarvakarma vinirmatam. Vinirmitam. Along with Caṇḍavega were many female Gandharvis, as there was as many female Gandharvis as there were soldiers, and all of them repetitively plundered all the paraphernalia for sense enjoyment. Purport. The days have been compared to the soldiers of Caṇḍavega. I thought the Gandharvas were the passing nights and days. The imperceptible passing away of the days of life is figuratively referred to in this verse as Gandharvas. Maybe the Gandharvas is like that's it, it's hidden, right? It's imperceptible. Imperceptible, I mean. Okay. Night is generally a time for sex enjoyment. Days are considered to be white, and nights are considered to be black. Or from another point of view, there are two kinds of nights, black nights and white nights. All these days and nights combine to pass away our span of life and everything we manufacture for sense gratification. Material activity means manufacturing things for sense gratification. Scientists are conducting research to find out how we can satisfy our senses more and more elaborately. In this Kali Yuga, the demoniac mentality is employed in manufacturing various machines to facilitate the process of sense gratification. There are so many machines for ordinary household activities. There are machines for washing dishes, cleansing the floor, shaving, clipping hair. Today, everything is done by machine. All these facilities for sense gratification are described in this verse as sarva kama vinirmitam. The time factor, however, is so strong that not only is our span of life being expended, but all the machines and facilities for sense gratification are deteriorating. Therefore, in this verse, the word vilumpanti, plundering, is used. Everything is being plundered from the very beginning of our lives. This plundering of our possessions and lifespan begins with the day of our birth. One day will come when death will finish everything, and the living entity will have to enter another body to begin another chapter of life, and again begin the cycle of material sense gratification. Prahlad Maharaj describes this process as Puna Punash Charvita Charvananam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 7.5.30. Materialistic life means chewing the chewed again and again. The central point of material life is sense gratification. In different types of bodies, the living entity enjoys various senses, and through creating various types of facilities, he chews the chewed. Whether we squeeze sugar out of the sugarcane with our teeth or a machine, the result is the same: sugarcane juice. We may discover many ways to squeeze the juice out of the sugarcane, but the result is the same. Caṇḍavega Purañjana Purañjana Hartam are bhire tatra pratashe dat prajagara. When King Gandharva Caṇḍavega, and his followers began to plunder the city of Purañjana, a snake with 5 hoods began to defend the city. And remember, this was following Purañjani was the vital life force. So it's that same snake, I'm guessing. Purport. When one is sleeping, the life air remains active in different dreams. The 5 hoods of the snake indicates that the life air is surrounded by 5 kinds of air, known as pran, apan, vyan, udan, and saman. When the body is inactive, the pran, or the life air, is active. Up to the age of 50, one can actively work for sense gratification, but after the 50th year, one's energy decreases. Although one can, with great strain, work for 2 or 3 more years, perhaps up to the 55th year. Thus, the 55th year is generally taken by the government regulations as the final year for retirement. The energy which is fatigued after 50 years is figuratively described herein as a serpent with 5 hoods. Sorry. What is the normal retirement age? I'm just curious what it is in America. In America, the normal retirement age is 66, not 55. Hey, where did it go? There. Who's calling me? Arg. I just said I can't talk now, and the person calling me again. 1 second. Might be important. Hare Krishna? Hari Bol? I'm not going to answer this phone call again. Sasaktivi shatar eko vinshatya cha shatam sama Purañjana puradyaksho Gandharvar yuyude vali. The 5-hooded serpent, the superintendent and protector of the city of King Purañjana, fought with the Gandharvas for 100 years. He fought alone with all of them, although they numbered 720. Purport. The 360 days and 360 nights combine to become the 720 soldiers of Caṇḍavega time. One has to fight these soldiers throughout one's lifespan, beginning with birth and ending with death. This fight is called the struggle for existence. Despite this struggle, however, the living entity does not die. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2.20, the living entity is eternal. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin, nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya, ajo nitya shashvato yang purano, nahanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul there is neither birth nor death, nor having once been, does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Actually, the living entity does not take birth, nor does he die, but he has to fight with the stringent laws of material nature throughout the entire span of his lifetime. He must also face different kinds of miserable conditions. Despite all this, the living entity, due to illusion, thinks that he is well situated in sense gratification. Shriyamane swasambandhe ekasmin bahubir yuda Chintam parang jagamarta sarashtra purabandava. Because he had to fight alone with so many soldiers, all of whom were great warriors, the serpent with 5 hoods became very weak. Seeing that his most intimate friend was weakening, King Purañjana and his friends and citizens living within the city all became very anxious. Purport: The living entity resides within the body. And struggles for existence with the limbs of the body, which are referred to here as citizens and friends. One can struggle alone with many soldiers for some time, but not for all time. The living entity within the body can struggle up to the limit of 100 years with good luck, but after that it is not possible to prolong the struggle. Thus the living entity submits and falls victim. In this regard, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung, Vriddha Kaula Aula Saba Sukha Bhagala. When one becomes old, it becomes impossible to enjoy material happiness. Generally, people think that religion and piety come at the end of life, and at this time, one generally becomes meditative and takes to some so-called yogic process to relax in the name of meditation. Meditation, however, is simply a farce for those who have enjoyed life and sense gratification. As described in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, meditation, dhyan, dharana, is a difficult subject matter that one has to learn from his very youth. To meditate, one must restrain himself from all kinds of sense gratification. Unfortunately, meditation has now become a fashion for those who are overly addicted to sensual things. Such meditation is defeated by the struggle for existence. Sometimes such meditative processes pass for transcendental meditation. King Purañjana, the living entity, being thus victimized by the hard struggle for existence, took to transcendental meditation with his friends and relatives. Sa eva puryam madhubo panchaleshu swaparshabdai upanitam balim grinan strijito navidarbhayam. King Purañjana collected taxes in the city known as Panchal, and thus was able to engage in sexual indulgence. Being completely under the control of women, he could not understand that his life was passing away and that he was reaching the point of death. Purport: Government men, including kings, presidents, secretaries, and ministers, are in a position to utilize taxes collected from the citizens for sense gratification. It is stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that in this Kali Yuga, government men, rajanyas, and those connected with the government, as well as exalted government ministers, secretaries, and presidents, will all simply collect taxes for sense gratification. The government is top-heavy, and without increasing taxes, the government cannot maintain itself. When taxes are collected, they are utilized for sense gratification of the government officials. Such irresponsible politicians forget that there is a time when death will come to take away all their sense gratification. Some of them are convinced that after life, everything is finished. This atheistic theory was conceived long ago by a philosopher called Charvaka. Charvaka recommended that man should live very opulently by either begging, borrowing, or stealing. He also maintained that one should not be afraid of death, the next life, one should not be afraid of the next life, the past life, or an impious life, because after the body is burnt to ashes, everything is finished. This is the philosophy of those who are too much materially addicted. Such philosophizing will not save one from the danger of death, nor will it save one from an abominable afterlife. Kalasya duhita kache trilokem varam ichate Purañjana pratyanantata kashtana. My dear King Prācīnabarhi, at this time the daughter of formidable time was seeking her husband throughout the 3 worlds. Although no one agreed to accept her, she came. Purport. In due course of time, when the body becomes old and practically invalid, it is subject to jara, the sufferings of old age. There are 4 basic kinds of suffering: birth, old age, disease, and death. No scientist or philosopher has ever been able to make a solution to these 4 miserable conditions. The invalidity of old age, known as jara, is figuratively explained here as the daughter of time. No one likes her, but she is very much anxious to accept anyone as her husband. No one likes to become old and invalid, but this is inevitable for everyone. दुर्भाग्येनात्मनो लोके विश्रुता दुर्भाग्येति सा या तुष्टा राजर्षायेतो वृत्तादात्पुरवेर्परम्. The daughter of time, Jara, was very unfortunate. Consequently, she was known as Durbhaga, ill-fated. Jara means old age, right? Yes, I'm pretty sure. Yes. However, she was once pleased with a great king, and because the king accepted her, she granted him a great benediction. Purport. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Shabu Shuka Bhagalo, all kinds of happiness disappear in old age. Consequently, no one likes old age, or Jara. Thus, Jara, as the daughter of time, is known as the most unfortunate daughter. She was, however, at one time accepted by a great king, Yayati. Yayati was cursed by his father-in-law, Shukracharya, to accept her. When Shukracharya's daughter was married to King Yayati, one of her friends, named Sharmishta, went with her. Later, King Yayati became very much attached to Sharmishta, and Shukracharya's daughter complained to her father. Consequently, Shukracharya cursed King Yayati to become prematurely old. King Yayati had 5 youthful sons, and he begged all his sons to exchange their youth for his old age. No one agreed except the youngest son, whose name was Puru. Upon accepting Yayati's old age, Puru was given the kingdom. It is said that 2 of Yayati's other sons, being disobedient to their father, were given kingdoms outside of India, most probably Turkey and Greece. The purport is that one can accumulate wealth and all kinds of material opulences, but during old age, one cannot enjoy them. Puru attained his father's kingdom, he could not enjoy all the opulence, for he had sacrificed his youth. One should not wait for old age in order to become Krishna conscious. Due to the invalidity of old age, one cannot make progress in Krishna consciousness, however opulent he may be materially. Kadachid atamanasa brahmalokan mahim gatam bhavre brihad vratam mangtu janati kamamohita. Once, when I came to this earth from Brahmaloka, the highest planetary system, the daughter of time wandering over the universe met me. Knowing me to be an avowed brahmachari, she became lusty and proposed that I accept her. Purport. The great sage Narad Muni was a Naishtika brahmachari, that is, he never had sex life. He was consequently an evergreen youth. Old age, Jara, could not attack him. The invalidity of old age can overcome an ordinary man, but Narad Muni was different. Taking Narad Muni to be an ordinary man, the daughter of time confronted him with her lusty desire. It requires great strength to resist a woman's attraction. It is difficult for old men, and what to speak of young. Those who live as brahmacharis must follow in the footsteps of the great sage Narad Muni, who never accepted the proposals of Jara. Those who are too much sexually addicted become victims of Jara, and very soon their lifespan is shortened. Without utilizing the human form of life for Krishna consciousness, the victims of Jara die very soon in this world. Mai sangrabhya vipula madachapan sudusaham statum arhasinai katra madhyanshna vimuko mune. The great sage Narad continued, "When I refused to accept her request, she became very angry at me and cursed me severely. Because I refused her request, she said that I would not be able to stay in one place for a long time." Purport. Wow, I got cursed again, the same curse. The great sage Narad Muni has a spiritual body. Therefore, old age, disease, birth, and death do not affect him. Narad is the most kind devotee of the Supreme Lord, and his only business is to travel all over the universe and preach God consciousness. In other words, his business is to make everyone a Vaishnava. Under the circumstances, there is ordinarily no need for him to stay in one place for more than the time he requires to preach. Since by his own free will he is already traveling all over the universe, the curse of Kalakanya is described as fortunate. Like Narad Muni, many other devotees of the Lord are engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord in different places and in different universes. Such personalities are beyond the jurisdiction of material laws. Tato vihatta sankalpa kanyakaya vaneshwaram mayopadishtam vavre namna bhayam patim. After she was thus disappointed by me, with my permission, she approached the king of the Yavanas, whose name was Bhaya, or fear, and she accepted him as her husband. Purport. Being the most perfect Vaishnava, Sri Narad Muni is always willing to do good to others, even to one who curses him. Although Kalakanya, the daughter of time, was refused by Narad Muni, she was given a shelter. Of course, no one could give her shelter, but a Vaishnav gives shelter somewhere to such an unfortunate girl. When Jara, or old age, everyone dwindles and deteriorates. In one stroke, Narad gave shelter to Kalakanya and counteracted the ordinary karmis. If one accepts the instructions of Narad Muni, the ocean of fear, of bhai, can very quickly be removed by the grace of that great Vaishnava. Rishabham yavananam tvam vrene virepsitam patim sankalpasvai bhutanam kritakila narishyati. Approaching the king of the Yavans, Kalakanya addressed him as a great hero, saying, "My dear sir, you are the best of the untouchables. I am in love with you, and I want you as my husband. I know that no one is baffled if he makes friends with you." Purport. The words Yavananam Rishabham refer to the king of the Yavans. The Sanskrit words Yavana and Malecha apply to those who do not follow the Vedic principles. According to Vedic principles, one should rise early in the morning, take bath, chant Hare Krishna, offer Mangalar to the deities, study Vedic literature, take prasad, and engage in dressing and decorating the deities. One must also collect money for the temple expenditures. Or if one is a householder, he must go to work in accordance with the prescribed duties of a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. In this way, one should live a life of spiritual understanding, and this is the Vedic way of civilization. One who does not follow all these rules and regulations is called a Yavana or Malecha. One should not mistakenly think that these words refer to certain classes of men in other countries. There is no question of limitation according to nationalism. Whether one lives in India or outside of India, he is called a Yavan or Malecha if he does not follow the Vedic principles. One who does not actually follow the Vedic hygienic principles prescribed in the Vedic rules and regulations will be subjected to many contagious diseases. Because the students in this Krishna consciousness movement are advised to follow the Vedic principles, they naturally become hygienic. It's hygienic, right? It's not hygienic. It's hygienic, I think. Oh, hygienic? Okay, anyways. Conducive to maintaining health and preventing disease. Yeah. If a person is Krishna conscious, he can work like a young man even if he is 75 or 80 years old. Like Srila Prabhupada. Thus the daughter of Kala, time, cannot overcome a Vaishnav. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami engaged in writing Chaitanya Charitamrita when he was very old, yet he presented the most wonderful literature about the activities of Lord Chaitanya. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami began their spiritual lives at a very old age, that is, after they retired from their occupations and family lives. Yet they presented many valuable literatures for the advancement of spiritual life. This is confirmed by Srila Srinivas Acharya, who praised the Goswamis in this way. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Shri Sanatana Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of, because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis, who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Thus jara, the effect of old age, does not harass a devotee. This is because a devotee follows the instructions and determination of Muni. All devotees are in the disciplic succession stemming from Narad Muni, because they worship the deity according to Narad Muni's direction, namely the Narad Pancharatra, or the Pancharatric Vidhi. A devotee follows the principles of the Pancharatric Vidhi as well as Bhagavat Vidhi. Bhagavat Vidhi includes preaching work, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, the hearing and chanting of the glories of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Pancharatric Vidhi include Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmani Vedanam. Interesting. I never heard that explained like that. Because a devotee rigidly follows the instructions of Narad Muni, he has no fear of old age, disease, or death. Apparently, a devotee may grow old, but he is not subjected to the symptoms of defeat experienced by a common man in old age. Consequently, old age does not make a devotee fearful of death, as a common man is fearful of death. When jara, or old age, takes shelter of a devotee, Kalakanya diminishes the devotee's fear. A devotee knows that after death he is going back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, he has no fear of death. Thus, instead of depressing a devotee, advanced age helps him become fearless and thus happy. Dvavimav anusochanti balavasaravagraho yaloka shastra-panatam narati natarichati. Sorry, 1 second, just need to stretch. Okay. One who does not give charity according to the customs or injunctions of the scriptures, and who does not accept charity in that way, are considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Such persons follow the path of the foolish. Surely they must lament at the end. Report. It is herein stated that one should strictly follow the scriptures if one actually wants an auspicious life. The same is explained in Bhagavad Gita 16:23. Ya shastra vidimutsrija vartate kamakarata na sasiddhim avapnoti na sukham na param gatim. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. One who does not strictly follow the terms of the Vedic injunctions never attains success in life or happiness. And what to speak of going home back to Godhead? One Shastric injunction holds that a householder, a kshatriya, or an administrative head should not refuse to accept a woman if she voluntarily requests to become a wife. Since Kalakanya, the daughter of time, was deputed by Narad Muni to offer herself to Yavanraj, the king of the Yavans, the king of Yavans could not refuse her. Okay. Since Narad Muni was deputed by Narad Muni to offer herself to Yavanraj, the king of the Yavans could not refuse her. All transactions must be performed in light of the Shastric injunctions. The Shastric injunctions are confirmed by great sages like Narad Muni. As stated by Narottam Das Thakur, Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya Chittite Koriya Aikya. One should follow the principles of saintly persons, scriptures, and the spiritual master. In this way, one is sure to attain success in life. Kalakanya, the daughter of time, presented herself before the king of the Yavans precisely in terms of sadhu, shastra, and guru. Thus, there is no reason for not accepting her. Are we ending? What verse are we going up to? I think 26, right? Oh, and Rup Manjari, I think Smaranam would falls under Bhagavat Vidhi. Yes, we're reading up to 26. Okay, so this is the last verse. Ato bhajasva mam bhadra bhajanti me dayam kuru etavan paurusho dharmo yadartan anukampate. Kalakanya continued, O gentle one, I am now present before you to serve you. Please accept me and thus show me mercy. It is a gentleman's greatest duty to be compassionate upon a person who is distressed. Purport. Yavanraj, the king of the Yavanas, could also refuse to accept Kalakanya, the daughter of time, but he considered the request due to the order of Narad Muni. Thus he accepted Kalakanya in a different way. In other words, the injunctions of Narad Muni are the path of devotional service, can be accepted by anyone within the three worlds, and certainly by the king of the Yavanas. Lord Chaitanya himself requested everyone to preach the cult of Bhakti Yoga all over the world, in every village and town. Preachers in the Krishna consciousness movement have actually experienced that even the Yavanas and Malechas have taken to spiritual life on the strength of Narad Muni's Pancharatrik Vidhi. When mankind follows the disciplic succession as recommended by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone throughout the world will benefit. Everyone throughout the world will benefit. Tomorrow we'll finish off this chapter. Baya accepts her as both sister and wife. Yikes. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Oh wow, now the retirement age is 70? Srila Prabhupada first said 50, and then he's like, well, maybe a few more years and make it 55. And now it's gone from 65 to 70. That's ridiculous. And probably by Rup Manju's age, 80. That's insane. For a lot of people. Crazy. Jai Shri Guru Guranga Gandharva. Okay. Yeah, we can't afford to retire them. Jai Shri Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmar Shila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmar Shila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmar Shila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmar Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishupar Ashatara Shatashmar Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitila Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Shila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitila Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varaga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jeev Gopal Patadasha Gunath Char Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Shada Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Mona Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Ashar after. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandava Pranams. So there's a picture in here. Let's see. Oh, God. I need to take a picture and then I'll share it. Or if Indira Mataji wants to do that also. But that's the picture of when the time of death came for King Purañjana. Yamaraj and his Yavan followers immediately drew near to arrest him, binding him like an animal. The Yavans began taking him away to the place of judgment. Oh, we'll read this tomorrow. Okay, never mind, we're not there yet. So tomorrow we'll share that picture. Hi. Haribol. Dandava Pranams. Haribol.